Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Prue.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Andy.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summit.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Brian Theis.
And we're going to do today's album fight. Our guest judge this week is actually our album cover artist, Brad Hutchings. Brad, welcome to the album fight.
Thanks, Pete. How you doing?
What have you thought from these shows? You've heard a couple of them. You've listened to Rickards' analysis. What stands out to you in terms of what have you learned?
I like the passion for the music. I like that you guys go in order. But like, these would be a mess if you went completely out of order, right? Like, I could just pick my matchups and then we'd all come up with different scores. That would make any sense. You guys do this by having it in order, and it makes sense, and that's good.
Yeah, it's one of the neat things is having to figure out what the bottom of the album is and what the top is and how everything lines up. It's been a real treat. Today's fight features two incredibly different styles, which we like to do around here, but a powerhouse of an album from George Michael, his solo debut album. He closed down Wham and then went his own way and starts off with a Grammy award-winning Album of the Year album in Faith. And it's huge. Multi-millions of albums sold. It's a diamond certified album, and Rolling Stone's top 480. I'm probably stealing a little bit of Richard's thunder, but that's all right. He can take it. Perry Farrell's Jane's Addiction is his opponent across the other side of the ring. Ritual de lo Habitual is the album. It comes from 1991. We've got the end of the 80s versus the beginning of the 90s. More of the different tempo, rock and roll, grungy, kind of dirty sound that happened shortly after with Nirvana in Jane's Addiction, but then also the dance grooves, the soulful R&B kind of flavored, blue-eyed soul even, of George Michael's Faith. Brian, what are your thoughts on this album fight going in?
You know, coming in, Faith was such a big album. It had all the hits. It had the videos that went along with it. And Jane's Addiction meant a lot to me because I was in high school and college when Jane's was big, and they had the Lollapalooza tour. But coming in, going up against Faith, this is going to be a tough fight.
All right, let's get Richard's thoughts and analysis. Richard, what do you think about this matchup?
This week we have another battle of differing styles. In one corner we have the 1987 debut solo album from George Michael, Faith. The album released 7 singles, 6 of which made it to be top 5 hits. It won several awards, including Album of the Year at the 1989 Grammys, and surprisingly, this was the first time an album from a white artist hit number 1 on the R&B charts. It is ranked in the top 500 albums of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. It sold over 10 million copies in the U.S. It's going up against Jane's Addiction's 1990 sophomore album, Ritual de lo Habitual. While they were always on the radar of people in the alternative set, the single Been Caught Stealing helped make the band kind of a household name. It was largely praised by critics, but surprisingly at the time, Rolling Stone magazine only gave it a 2-star review, but have since given it 4 stars in their Rolling Stones album guide. Now, I know where my personal preferences lie here. If given the choice which album I would personally rather listen to, I'd probably pick Jane's Addiction 9 out of 10 times. But like last week, I've brought out my trusty new patent-pending analytical model and put in the numbers to help me predict the fight. And through all of my parameters, this started to appear to be a blowout for Faith. Early models showed it going 7 rounds to 2, but as more data was put in, it started shaping out to be more like 6 rounds to 3. Now, at first glance, that seems extreme, but in a 9-round fight, that's closer than it appears. 6 to 3 is just a single round swing from 5 to 4, which is a very close fight. That's just 1 round away from being 5 to 4 the other direction. That's where the rounds to watch come into play. Faith can look forward to good rounds in 1, 2, 3, and 8. Ritual is strong in rounds 1, 5, and 6. And there you see that round 1 could be the round that determines the whole match, because first time in weeks we have strong songs up against strong songs, and we have that with round one. Both Faith and Stop are great album starters, and I think where the judges go in this round will shape the match to come. Looking at the fight as a whole, Faith comes out very strong the first 4 rounds, and could easily win 3 of those. If that's the case, it's uphill for Ritual at this point. And it's for this reason that I think Faith will take this fight 5 rounds to 4. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Richard. And just so everybody knows, John's taking this week off. It's a lot of work putting these things together, as Brian knows, now that he's done it twice. And so we're going to try to rotate some other guest judges in. I imagine we'll have Mike LePerry and Scott Burford in here in a short order, just to give everybody a bit of a break around here. I'm looking forward to this. All right, well, let's start with Brad. Brad, round 1, Stop versus Faith. What are your thoughts?
Faith is a huge song. I definitely never was a George Michael guy, even at high school dances. We graduated the same year, Pete. I would have sat those plays out if it weren't for a cute girl I was dancing with. Yeah, I never was one for that. Stop is a solid first song, but Faith is like a legendary song. Even with my bias, very, very pro Jane's Addiction, I actually met Farrell at one of JJ's shows. He's a very short guy. That's about all I'll say. Even if I'm biased toward Jane's Addiction, I have to score this 10-9 for Faith. And
what about you, Brian? What do you got?
Coming into this fight, I didn't think this round would be close. Faith has always been just a bouncy, poppy, punchy, fun song that I've heard thousands of times, and I'm always bouncing along and singing to it. It even throws in some rockabilly guitar there in the second half, and it also happens to be my youngest daughter's middle name, so she's adopted it as her song. But Stop, right from the jump with the whole part in Spanish. If you guys don't know Spanish, they say, we have more influence over your children than we do. And then like 3 notes into the song, it's undeniably Jane's Addiction. And they weave you through who all these we's that are influencing your children are with that mountain of Jane's sonicness. It wound up being very close round, but I scored it 10-9 for Faith.
Yeah, and when I saw this album, same thing as you guys, I know that Faith is a powerhouse pop hit, and if George Michael can do something, it's a right a pop song, and it's poppy, and when you look at all the different songs, I Want Your Sex sliding into the Freedom intro, and then you drop Faith in, it just was a cool way to start a song. I think that worked well. If I was going to hit him on anything, it is a touch poppy, and that doesn't typically age well, and I don't know that the song has aged poorly, but it has aged, and that seems to matter around here. So I don't think Faith would stand up against other elite songs from this album, but I do think against Stop, it's very, very close. So about Stop, I thought, what's cool with them, that Spanish intro, like you said, Brian, they say some provocative things, and then that song starts. This is like for me, a fighter gets into the ring, and then he's ready to go, and then that little light intro, and then the nasty licks start, and Navarro starts driving it home. That's classic Jane's, and it's incredible. I really had never appreciated Eric Avery's bass playing. It really, really works in this song. And I just can't say enough about it. Will George Michael be able to maintain the pace? I don't know, but I gave him this round in a very, very close 10-9. Round 2. Brian, why don't you go ahead and start us off? No One's Leaving versus Father Figure.
All right, talking about Eric Avery's bass, the bass line jumps right from the jump on this song, and it really just grabs me. And lyrically, the song, it manages to have a message. We're all on this rock together. We need to get along better. And it does that without falling victim to preachiness like you would hear from a Pearl Jam or sometimes a U2 or a Springsteen. So I really appreciated that part of the song. Father Figure, it's always felt creepy to me. It sounds beautiful vocally with a tender instrumentation, but it falls somewhere between stocky and brainwashing. When I was in the concussion protocol the other day and I was listening to the album Fight, my wife walked up to me to make sure I wasn't listening too loud. So I gave her my headphones, and Father Figure happened to be on, and she put him in, and she goes, don't listen to him. He's got bad intentions. Even if it's the same way. I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for No One's Leaving.
So when I heard No One's Leaving, I thought, maybe it takes me a song or 3 to get into Jane's Addiction. It's such a loose band, and they don't play by a lot of the rules. So you're trying to get used to like what it sounds like. And listen, Perry Farrell's, as powerful as his lyrics are, he's not great to listen to. You know, he works for what he does, but I struggle with him. So I think this is a good song. But for me, Father Figure, you know, I know that the lyrics here in this song, I think Father Figure are better than the lyrics in No One's Leaving. And I appreciate George Michael saying, I need to do this on my own, producing it, writing it, all of those things. You know, it's a really big risk to take. And I think on this song, very, very close again, but I think just a tiny bit of a benefit over Perry's sort of looseness. I think that George Michael takes this one 10-9. Brad, how do you have it?
So Father Figure is another one of those songs that, probably annoyed me when I first heard it, and for 10 years after, maybe 20 or 30 years after. But it is a powerful song. One of those absolutely great songs. No One's Leaving. It's the kind of song that when the CD was in the CD player, if you didn't have a chance to leave it off the playlist, you did next. I actually scored this, and again, I mean, I love Jane's Addiction, but that just isn't my song. I scored this one 10-8, George Michael.
All right. Round 3. I'll lead this one off. Ain't Nobody Right versus I Want Your Sex. So, Ain't Nobody Right. This round for me is the toughest one of the whole fight. I Want Your Sex is iconic. There's multiple versions of it. They're all groovy. And Ain't Nobody is the kind of song that makes Perry Farrell famous. He comes out. These are 3 great songs back to back to back. And I dig the groove on this. I love what Eric Avery does. He just absolutely lifts up Perry and puts him on his shoulders and says, blow it out. You know, I think it's great. But what really sets this song apart are the lyrics. You know, Perry, when he gets autobiographical, when he looks in the mirror and sings about who he is and what he sees or what he's experiencing, he often gets that right because he's just got a unique look at the world, and his band just fits in nicely. And that's a credit to Dave Navarro. In this song, I think he's just fantastic. The pizzicato notes and the power chords and the way in the early 90s, Guns N' Roses did this. Jane's did it well. You know, they changed the pace of songs. They would pull it back, slow it down, and speed it up again in different tempo. Oh, it was just great, and they really get that great here. I Want Your Sex. Look, I give this round to Jane's. I know what George Michael is doing here, and it's fantastic. But I've already heard a couple of pop songs, and while I'm just getting into the speed for Jane's, the poppiness is wearing on me a little bit, and I'm interested to see what else George Michael might throw at us. But for me, this round is 10-9, Jane's Addiction. Brad, what do you think?
What I find about the first 3 songs on Faith is they're powerhouse songs. I mean, these are like iconic songs. He just starts out with his best stuff and doesn't hold anything back. Those are his best 3 songs. They're songs that we all know, can sing along to, whether we like them or not. You know, they're that momentous. I still feel on the third song, Jane's Addiction is they're kind of setting up what they do. You know, it's not quite a song you'd remember from them. You're right. Bass line's amazing. It kind of guitar jumps around a bit. Perry's off singing whatever he's saying. I ended up scoring this one 10-9, George Michael.
Brian, how did you have round 3?
You know, I just got to say right up front that I Want Your Sex came out when I was at a very impressionable age. I think I was 11, 12, 13 maybe. And I remember the controversial video and the radio stations that would only play the song after 9 o'clock. But that's the single that came out. That's part 1. I actually liked part 2 of this song with the horns and that funkier sound, even more than I like the single that got released on the radio. And as for Ain't No Right, it's a fun song. It's an angry song. I love the pace that they play it at. Maybe I'm getting this wrong. I've gotten songs wrong before. It sounds to me like an addict making excuses for their addiction. Anybody who's dealt with an addict or anybody who's sick, when they're making excuses to get away from the treatment, that's the most frustrating stage that you go through. And the song frustrates me. I couldn't give it a win, so I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for I Want Your Sex.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the addict thing is tough to struggle with, and Perry Farrell gets credit for digging deep and exposing these things, but it's also it also can put you off when George Michael's singing about love and sex and all that stuff. All right, let's move on. Round 4. Brad, Obvious versus One More Try.
This is where I think Jane's Addiction hits their stride, because this is just a wild sound. I mean, it's just like one of those things you just want to play over and over. You want to rewind 15 seconds. You want to figure out what the guitar lick is. Or anyway, I want to figure out what the guitar lick is, because I recently picked up the guitar and I'm kind of into that. So yeah, I actually did pick up the guitar and tried to figure out what the guitar lick was for, I don't know, a couple minutes, and I realized, hey, I've got to score an album fight here. I'm kind of a sleeper song, but just such a well put together song. I really liked it. One More Try. All right, now I think George Michael. He's trying to shove stuff down our throat, and I don't mean that in any kind of a weird way. I just don't really dig that song. It's not terribly iconic. It's not a song anyone would remember. Still listenable. I scored this 10-9, Gene.
Brian, how did you have round 4?
Here in round 4, I really love the combination of sounds that Jane's putting together on this song. I love the way the keyboards and the guitars start playing around, the way Perry starts to use his voice as an instrument with the different inflections. And the song itself, lyrically, we're talking 30 years after it was written, it's never been truer. I mean, we're always finding ways to tear others down instead of trying to improve. One More Try, it's a sparse song, and I love the vocals on it. I think it's genuine and true. And it's not creepy like Father Figure. This was a real close round, but I wound up giving it 10-9 for One More Try.
Yeah, for me, this was a tough round. I was really trying to figure out where to go. On one hand, Obvious is obviously, for me, not as good as the 3 previous Jane songs. So while I agree with you guys, they kind of hit their stride here. Of the first 4 songs, this one for me is the weakest. The lyrics are okay, and the jam is okay, but we've kind of been here already. So while we've been jamming at a high level, and look, let's just start this right now. We love both these albums. Brad may not have been a big George Michael guy. Neither was I, but we grew up with Wham. We know how powerful George Michael was when he came out with this and how much the ladies loved this album. So you had to pay attention. So these are big albums for us. And so when we're critical, we're talking about at the highest level of success. Obvious is a great song. But for me, I felt like I had heard 3 versions of this kind of thing. And when Jane's has that loose synergy, they don't always click. They don't always get there. And I think this is one of those songs that suffers a little bit from that. And again, only at the highest level. Whereas George is over on the other side. He tried to fall hard in love and faith. He said, "Damn, believe I'm a father figure. I'm going to show you what it's going to be like." And then they have sex. And now it's like, oh shit, this isn't working out. We got to give this one more try, baby. This is George's album. He wrote it himself. He produced it himself. He shows off his voice, and that comes through in this song. On those things, and the fact that the 4th song for James isn't quite as good as the other 3, I'm going to go 10-9 George Michael. All right, round 5. Brian, go ahead and lead us off. Been Caught Stealing takes on Hard Day. What do you think?
Hard Day, I think it's got a good funky beat, but it goes too synth poppy, repetitive for me to really get into. If I had the right moves, it might be a fun song to dance to, but it's not really a fun song to listen to. And it's going against Been Caught Stealing, which is a fun song. To talk about this song without talking about the video. When I was a kid, I subscribed to Rolling Stone magazine. That's probably not a wise choice by my mom, but she was cool. And I remember an anecdote that Steven Tyler told when they were first coming up and they didn't have any money. Aerosmith wasn't big yet, and they had to steal some steaks from the grocery store. And Steven Tyler said he stuffed the steaks down the front of his pants, and by the time he got home, they were cooked. So, watching this video, I'm reminded of that story.
That's awesome.
The song itself, I love the bass. I love the barking dogs. I love the visual that goes along with having seen the video 10,000 times. I wound up scoring this one 10-8 for Been Caught Stealing.
Oh, a knockdown. Wow.
Not knockdown, yeah.
All right. I'll go ahead and go. So, Been Caught Stealing for me, yeah, like you said, man, this song is just cool. The dog barking. Am I going to say all the same words you said? Probably. It's just a unique topic, too. You had the story to back it up, Brian. Like, I get why John's always like, damn, I hate going last. Yeah, what you said, everything. I also like the claps that were really flammy. Like the claps were out of time and they flammed at different times, and it just was a cool choice to do, and I like that. Of course, Avery and Navarro are just They're like two horses cantering pairs, going along. They're like, it's dangerous how they're playing along. They're not always in sync, but damn, they work together well in this song. It's just a great tune, and it's always going to be a party starter. Hands up in the air, people singing, someone in the background doing the dog barking part. It's just a great tune, and it's really tough to beat that no matter how good the other song is. And Don't Bring Me Down. Look, I would love this song more if the bass line was actually played on a bass and wasn't overproduced like it is. Same thing with the drumming. It's just too much production on here. You've got a pretty good groove. It'll work. It'll get there. But with all of that noise and distraction, it's just hard to get to the emotional content of the song. And only out of the respect for what could have been in this song, and I'm positive if we were to allow the unplugged song to come in, it would represent better. But that's not the case here. What we do have is kind of Casio keyboard preset 3 beat, and then he goes ahead and goes, and then even then produces on top of it. So I've got this Jane's 10-9. Brad, what do you do?
Been caught stealing. Who hasn't taunted their dog with it? And when I listened to the album Fight and I scored it, it was the night that I got her. And I don't know, are you sharing the video on this, Pete?
No, but I will say Brad's got his brand new puppy in his lap. So let me take a picture of that.
Her head, she just like this with the dogs barking. And I thought, you know what? This is a good dog. There's that.
I can't hear you.
I think the dog unplugged his microphone.
Yeah,
the dog muted me.
Okay, there you go.
That's why I set her down.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
It's a classic, iconic song. It represents kind of the coming together of grunge and metal in the minds of, most listeners from the era. So there's that. Okay, Hard Day. This is where I just lose it with George Michael, because it's overproduced. It's too much synthesizer. And on top of that, it's just not a very good song. I mean, it's like, it just didn't seem listenable to me. I actually scored this as a knockdown 10-8.
Oh, another knockdown. So some significant swinging going on in this round. I like it. Round 6. 3 Days versus Hand to Mouth. 3 Days, the song is super doorsy for me. I hear that and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much doors in this. Is that a good thing? I think the song works in all parts. I mean, Jane's is in stride. They're playing great. I haven't mentioned the drumming of Steve Perkins yet, so let me correct that now. Tons of toms, floor toms on this thing, and they sound dangerous. They sound hedonistic, and just the disconnection with reality that the drums bring in. I didn't realize that was going to happen. And again, I had really slept hard on the rhythm section in Jane's Addiction. So when I heard this, I thought, wow, this is what I like from Jane's. They're putting me in a different spot and taking me on this ride with this, crazy 3-day drugged, sex-filled thing. One of the girls ultimately ODs a short time later. I mean, this is dangerous, visceral stuff, and that's what I want from Perry Farrell, because I'm too terrified to go live that life, but he has no problem with it. And also, man, that guitar solo from Dave Navarro. I mean, he's already a sexy player anyhow, but he really takes this song to a different place, and I love that this song is a little bit too long, because this is, this is like a 3-day sex drug-filled event. Is probably too long. So I like Dave Navarro in this place. I dig the whole thing. And Hand to Mouth, it doesn't do what 3 Days does. George tells a tale and puts together a good song, but he doesn't take the leap that Perry takes in 3 Days, and Perry elevates above, and he gets him 10-9. Hey, Brad, why don't you go ahead and do round 6?
I think I will. As you said, Pete, 3 Days it feels like a culmination of all the good things they do on this album. And it's just, the guitar solo is just amazing. This is a song that I want to play over and over. I don't really know why. I mean, it just has that kind of appeal to it. It's got that energy. The story is phenomenal. It's just a great song. Hand to Mouth isn't a bad song. Now, as George Michael's album has progressed, he just went 3 powerhouse songs, and then what I felt were like 2 kind of loser songs. And this this almost kind of saves it, and brings him back, but not quite. I score this 10-9 Jane's Addiction.
Brian?
All right, 3 days. When you look at 3 days and you look at the album and you look at the track times, it's an 11-minute song. When I see an 11-minute song, I'm thinking the Grateful Dead, drums in space, and I hate when the Grateful Dead play drums in space. I get so bored. Maybe it's because I'm not high. I don't know. Also, but this song, it doesn't feel like an 11-minute song. It changes and shifts as it tells this 3-day story of this binge that they go on. And I think Navarro's guitar and Perry's vocals, they soar and they rock and they take you high and low as you follow this P-Dinky tale. Hand to Mouth, it tries to be a powerful song about the poor, but his singing is just breathy, and it's over that you just mentioned in the last song, the Casio keyboard beat. It's over one of those Casio keyboard beats, and he just doesn't do it for me. I wound up having this one be another knockdown round. I scored it 10-8 for 3 days.
Wow, big swing and mid fight here from James. I love it. All right, so let's go on to round 7. Then She Did versus Look at Your Hands. Brian, I'm going to have you lead this one off because I want to have Brad close it out. So go ahead and go, Brian.
Okay. Look at Your Hands. I love a lot about this song. I love the horns. I love the keys. I love the beat. I hate the lyrics. She left you. She married a loser. Get over it. Let her go on with her life. You don't need to sit here and sing about it.
Yes.
Right? Then She Did. It takes these tragic events in Perry's life. It takes his girlfriend's OD, and it takes his mom's suicide, and it ties them together. And it's a long song, but it's dynamic, and it's beautiful, and I think it's a great tribute. I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for Then She Did.
Brad, go ahead and go.
So I don't know what happened, but these two albums, they like George Michael, just big punch to the face, and then Jane's Addiction, big punch to the face, and then these two songs come on, and I'm like, what's going on here? Where'd these go? I really hated them both. I think it's kind of the first song of Jane slipping into this, okay, we'll do like 2 or 3 minutes of really slow stuff, and then we'll kick up all the energy, to surprise everybody, or so that you can listen to the song and your mom won't bitch at you. And then when your mom leaves the room, then it just turns up or whatever. It's kind of cliche from lots of 80s metal. And I don't know. At this point, I just thought, okay, you guys have both gone off the road. I score this 5-5.
You can't score a 5-5. 10-point must. Got to go 10-point must.
We'll score it 10-10 then.
10-10. All right. Dem's the rules. New York Fight Commission says so. All right. But I appreciate what you're saying there. What do you think about that, Brian? I mean, have the two albums fallen out of step here in the late fight, or what do you feel what Brad felt?
I'm really starting to. I'm feeling the fatigue with George Michael. It's not my wheelhouse. I'm an Aerosmith. I'm a Public Enemy guy. I like what I like, and I appreciate what George Michael does, but it's that Casio keyboard. It's the funky beat. It's starting to wear on me. So I'm feeling that. I really liked Then She Did. I'm feeling that James is still swinging hard.
All right, let me do my breakdown of this round. So for round 7, I had, look at Your Hands. We've got other songs that talk about abuse, and they're heavier, and I need the song to be heavier. Here's what I figured out. This is a dance song, and the music doesn't fit the lyric, and that bugged me. You've got a song about physical abuse. You've got saxophones, for fucking sake, and it's not a bari sax or a bass sax. I'm not scared of a regular tenor sax, and you playing it and whatever. That doesn't fit. So I think George Michael, when he's in the booth making these decisions, this is where he needed someone to say, this needs to be played in a totally different way because this music does not match what you've written. And it's a shame because I do think that he's got something, but he just doesn't deliver the emotion. And if you're not going to do that, at this level, Perry Farrell's going to cut you. So, again, Avery's bass work is fantastic, and Navarro really these guys are so good together, and I'm really enjoying this part of the fight where these guys get together and do what they do. This is quality rock and roll. I dig it. Jane's Addiction, 10-9. So going into round 8, we have Of Course versus Monkey. And I've been looking forward to this one because I love the video because George Michael has that kind of Amish hat combination with the shirt going on, and it always makes me go, what the fuck? And I can't believe that this guy was thought to be so like, like what manly, good-looking dude wears this outfit? But yet there it is. So I got to see that and go, if you can wear that and pull it off and drive girls crazy and have models come up to you, then you've got something figured out. So good for George. The song's what I want from him too. It's funky, it's poppy, but it's fun. It's also a hands-up rocker like Ben Cott Steel. And like people want to sing this thing. There's not too much silliness. James comes out with, of course, and I think they're going for like a KO. Like I've really been working George Michael hard, and they come up short here. I'm not impressed with what Perry does, and no one's stoked when this song comes on. If Perry plays it live with the band, no one's like, oh, I've been waiting for, of course. No, it's one of the weaker tracks on the album, and frankly, not powerful in the overall Jane's catalog. So while they come out and swing, George clips him on the chin, and I have Jane's Addiction going down and taking a knee and getting an 8 count. 10-8 George Michael. What do you guys think about a knockdown there? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll jump in. I got to say that there are songs in the rock catalog where the violin can add a huge element and it can take a song over the top. This is not that song. The song's got the violin, it's got, I don't know if it's bells or tambourines, it's got this whole Middle Eastern bizarre kind of sound going to it, but it gets drony and repetitive. It's a long song that seems longer because they say the same exact thing. They say the same exact thing 3 times. And it's going against Monkey. And Monkey, it's funky and it's poppy and fun. It's a song about a depressing situation, but it sounds fun. They took a knee on this one, just like you, Pete. I had this one 10-8 for Monkey.
Wow. And then Brad, how about you? What did you get out of this fight?
Well, so
out of this round,
I actually hate that song, Monkey. I just hate it with a passion. I don't know why. It might have been some situation when I heard it, where I was driving, who I was mad at, something like that. But I've always hated it, and I listen to it and I hate it more, and probably for all the reasons that you guys like it. Again, it kind of seemed like kind of just filler at the end. We're 2 tired fighters and we're just throwing half a haymaker and half a haymaker and whatever. Okay, we'll just finish this thing off. Of course, another awful song. I mean. I scored it. Now on my scorecard, Brad's scoring. This was another 5-5, and this was this trend of at the end of the album they were tired. So if I'm not allowed to score at 5-5, I pretty much dislike the songs the same. So it's going to be a 10-10 for me.
10-10. All right, we're going to put 10-10 in there. Way to do your job, Brad. All right. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Brian, the lyrical capability displayed in this album. What do you think? I mean, look, George Michael knows how to write a song. Perry Farrell clearly knows how to throw together some words. How do you feel about what's going on in terms of lyrics?
I've always been the type that enjoys songs that tell stories. And I think the lyrics that both of these guys lay out there are telling stories. I might not like the story, but you can close your eyes, you can listen to it, and you can see what they're trying to get across. I don't exactly think that's the case on Of Course, but the other 17 songs in this album fight, I think they do a good job of that.
This is a short album. These are 2 9-song albums. Brian, do you think if one of the other versions of I Want Your Sex was on there, would that have significantly changed the outcome for you? I mean, you already like it, but you like the horn version better. What do you think about that?
It really depends what it lined up against. I'm not as familiar with part 3 of I Want Your Sex. I can't picture it off the top of my head, and I didn't load it into the album fight because it wasn't on the scorecard.
Right.
It winds up being a real close fight. We'll get to that later. I think it could have swung. It definitely could have swung. It could have swung in for George, especially. I don't want to give it away, but in this last round, I think it could have.
All right, well, let's get into the last round. Round 9, Classic Girl versus Kissing Fool. You're the guest. Brad, go ahead and tee up the last round here for us.
So for George Michael, again, this is a tired fighter giving a last gasp. It, I don't know, just nothing I'd ever listen to again, really. That's kind of where that goes. Classic Girl, again, tired fighter, but this time somehow finding enough energy to just beat the last gasp of the other fighter. The song doesn't suck. It wasn't awful. That's my notes for Classic Girl. I hate to end an album fight that way, but that's how I feel about it. Using your scoring, I'm going to go 10-9, Jane's Addiction.
Brian, how did you have it?
I had this round close. I tend to disagree with Brad on this one. Kissing a Fool. It's a nice song. It's a nice piano lounge love song. I think it does a real good job of showcasing his vocal range and highlights that, but it seems out of place on this album. This is George Michael going against Jane's Addiction, not Harry Connick Jr. I love Harry Connick Jr. He's one of the coolest dudes alive, but it just doesn't seem right in this album fight. Classic Girl, I think it's a sweet little love song in Jane's Addiction style, and I think it fits in perfectly with the album. I love the way it starts out with just the guitar and vocals, and then it builds in and adds the drum and the bass, and then it kind of builds up to this big finish and then just drops out. This was a close round. It was a really close round, actually, and I wound up giving it to Classic Girl at 10-9.
Yeah, and I had the fight closing out very, very, very close for me, all the way down. Either album, if they would have brought one more good song, would have made a big difference, and they both have that capability. Of course, in our kooky format, they would never know that they would be measured against each other, but Classic Girl is a great Jane song, and man, I just think this is a good way to close out an album, and it's a solid round, and I don't know what else Jane's can do to really stand out with what they put out there. Again, I'm not a huge Jane's fan, but I also really enjoyed him, and I own this album, so I was really happy with how they closed out. And then on George Michael with Kissing Fool, if you're going to do your own thing, and if you're going to show off your voice, then you do this. This is how you close the album out. You slow it down, and you say, I dare a motherfucker to take me out with 9 songs, and you win Grammy of the fucking year. This is a very, very, very strong album. It's not perfect. It maybe could have used the help of some outside influence, but that wasn't where George Michael was at this time. So he said, this is going to be my magnum opus. It's all me. And he just misses pushing his album into that special category. This is a great album. It's very strong. But I have Kissing Fool losing to Classic Girl 10-9. And both these bands should be proud of their performance, because these really, I was surprised, as always. I was surprised at how close I had this fight. But fellas, I actually have this a straight draw, 85-85. Shocked to do it, and without I only had one knockdown, but without that one knockdown, Jane's would have had it. And if you forced me to pick an album, I'd probably pick Jane's, because there's more going on there. But I also appreciate the solo effort of George Michael to say, I'm going to do something special, and I know that he did it. Brian, what are your thoughts on your fight card?
Yeah, I look at my fight card and I see, there's those knockdown rounds in the middle. There's Been Caught Stealing against One Hard Day, and there's 3 Days against Hand to Mouth, and there's the one that goes the other way with Monkey against Of Course. After I originally scored this fight, I spent Monday listening to those 3 rounds and saying, are they really knockdown rounds? Am I really judging this right? And I couldn't be swayed from my original opinion. Coming into this fight, I didn't think Jane's could do it. George Michael just had so much more star power coming in. Everybody's heard Faith. Everybody's heard I Want Your Sex. Everybody's heard Father Figure. In Jane's college, everybody listened to Jane's. But in the wide world, Perry Farrell's just this little freaky guy. They put together a really solid album, and they squeaked one out. That's what I got to say.
Brad, how about your fight card? When you look at what you've done and what you came up with, you pretty happy?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Like I said, I don't have a lot of love for George Michael. I doubt I'd dial up his album for anything other than an album fight. James, this album gets in the rotation occasionally, probably a lot less because we're not on CDs anymore. We're on favorite songs and playlists. A few songs here I probably added to my playlist for a while. Of course, Been Caught Stealing is there, and Obvious is there. I ended up 86-85. Each side had a knockdown. I thought the way these songs were arranged, the order they were arranged, it was nice to see George Michael come out and just punch in the face. Then it was nice to see Jane's Addiction come back and just punch in the face. And then they just kind of got tired. So yeah, it was a good fight. I mean, there were solid punches in the face. I could see both of them getting tired after getting beat up like that.
All right, let's get some analysis post-fight from Richard, our fight analysis, our fight doctor, actually technically a doctor, just not one about fighting, and world championship barbecuist. That's another thing that Richard does. Richard, what did you think of the fight and how it came out?
So we had a very interesting week. We had a majority decision for Jane's Addiction. I think that's the second majority decision we've had in a few weeks. Score totals came out to be 256 for Jane's Addiction to 253 for George Michael, so very close between three judges. If you average those scores, it comes out to a score of 85.3 to 84.3, so 1 point difference basically on the average with the judges. Now, my pre-fight prediction, I had predicted Faith would win 5-4. That was coming down because the numbers were skewing it really heavily towards Faith, and I knew it wasn't going to work out that way. On my card, which is unofficial after listening to the fight, I had it 87-84 for Ritual. So I pretty much agreed with the judges' decisions. I think Phil's unofficial card was also right around those same numbers because Phil's got really good taste. And then so I started asking myself, well, why did they win? Why did this turn this way? Why did it go against what I thought was the trend? And then it came down to the rounds that we had predicted would be the strong rounds. Now, I gave 4 rounds for Faith because it was such a strong album as far as singles goes. And I said rounds 1, 2, 3, and 8 would be the important rounds for that album. And they ended up winning 10 out of those 12, which is really good. But still, Faith didn't win. But then you look at Ritual, they only won 6 out of 9 of theirs. That was rounds 1, 5, and 6. So why in the world did Ritual end up winning? Well, if you really look into these numbers, first of all, round 1, I had said whoever wins that round is going to end up being the winner. I was completely wrong. It was the exact opposite. Faith won all 3 of those numbers. Ritual lost all 3 of those. That was the 3 of the 9 points that Ritual didn't get. But then I saw the numbers, and that's what finally led me to figure out what's going on here. Of the 12 potential points that Faith could get, while they won 10, only 1 of those was a knockdown. Now with Ritual, of the 9 potential points they could get, and only 6 that they got 3 knockdowns. So if you look at that, Faith is 10 out of 12. Give them 1 back for the knockdown. That's 11 out of 12. So they missed 1 of their potential 12 points. But Ritual had 6 out of 9, but they got all 3 of those points back on knockdowns, meaning that even. So now it's even to -1. We've already established that they won by 3 points. So all Ritual had to do is pick up 2 more points or 2 more rounds. So that's really the difference. And I think how we can kind of interpret that from this point forward is it seems to me that pop albums that are heavy on singles have really, really high highs, but the lows tend to be where they start getting knockdowns. And I think the more alternative or rock albums that are more albums instead of a collection of singles tend to have a consistency where when the pop albums hit those lows, they end up getting knockdowns. So I think the knockdowns are what did it for Ritual. They're both great albums. They're both really fun to listen to. These numbers are very interesting, and we're going to keep looking at things like this and seeing what it is that caused these albums to win. Back to you guys.
Well, I mean, that's fair. So, Richard, thank you for that. Fellas, I just wanted to, as always, we're really appreciative of anybody who comes on. I'll speak for John here and say we love the chance to do this and to share this show with you guys. And look, we all get to disagree. I will say this. As I look at the fight card, for sure, mid-fight, from round 7 to round 9, we unanimously, and this is the panel of judges because not everybody's card counts, but we do take these into consideration. The panel of judges gives those 3 rounds solidly to Jane's Addiction. And then also in round 9, the last round, we all agree. So there's 4 solid total agreement rounds from the judges. And that indicates to me that maybe Jane's is the right answer, but there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, Phil on his card had 2 different rounds that were 10-10. Brad had 2 rounds that were 10-10 rounds. So this is maybe our closest fight to date, and something, again, that both albums can be proud of because they really shown well. Brian, what are your final thoughts?
Gosh, I don't know if I have anything more to add. This was a real fun fight. I thoroughly enjoyed both these albums. Much like Brad, father figure. Faith was not in my rotation except for when I'm in my wife's car and she's listening to the radio and those songs come on. But getting the opportunity to listen to it again and getting a new appreciation for what it was, or maybe going back to when I was 11. I don't know. I really enjoyed this opportunity.
Yeah, we were glad to have you. Looking forward to having you also come in and guest host judge with us some. And then Brad, what were your final thoughts on this? I know you've kind of had a chance, but as you just think about the experience of doing the album fight, what comes to mind?
George Michael's first 3 songs, the iconic ones, are actually very good. I would not something I'd listen to, but they're very good. James, I think this album is pretty typical of how I feel about most of James' stuff, which is it's big hit or big miss. And in the era of albums, that's kind of tough. In the era of playlists, it's wonderful. You can just ignore the misses.
Fair enough. Hey, thank you everybody for coming on. Again, we want you guys to support these acts. We want you to buy the music. That's one of the reasons why we do it. If you spin us on Spotify, play the playlist and score along. Hit me on Twitter at Pete A. Turner. I will send you a fight card. You may have to hit me twice because I may forget because I get a lot of tweets. But hit me, and I will send it to you so you can score this thing. You can always find Brad and his comedy stylings at Brad Hutchings. Brad, when's your next open mic night? When's your next talent night out there at the bar?
So open mic night is probably canceled for a while because of the puppy. But Brad show number 4 is June 30th at Los Cabos Bar and Grill in Lake Forest.
Los Cabos Bar in Lake Forest.
Forest Bar and Grill. And everybody that comes out has a great time. So you should come out and have a great time. I'm
going to do my best to make it out there this time. Definitely bug me.
And you've put past shows up on YouTube, right, Brad?
I do. And in fact, you can find those at http://brad.company. I've got past 3 shows. And you can see how we're doing better with film and better with audio. And, the trajectory is up. That's where I want it to go. I don't want to just, put out 3 great shows and then, kind of fade off and then do 3 duds like George Michael did.
That sounds good to me. Hey, and Brian.
Nice analogy.
Concussion protocol. Hey, man, you're not playing sports like that anymore, so take it easy. Take care of your nugget. You're going to need it for a while, and look out for yourself a little bit.
I got my wife taking care of me. I'm good to go, bud.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.